Hello folks, so today I'm actually going to go over shapes within Adobe Illustrator. So last time we worked with the pen tool, which is a great tool to use if you are just plain drawing with creating different shapes, organic shapes, stuff like that. So today I am going to talk more about the actual shapes that are going to be defined and all principles behind all these different shapes and what you can do with them. So as of last time we used the pen tool, I'm going to direct your attention down towards underneath the pen tools. You're going to find that there's a circle or what we call an ellipse tool. Or it may actually show up as a rectangle tool on your screen. Mine was an ellipse tool because that's actually what I used last time. So if I roll over my rectangle tool, you'll notice that if I click and hold on that, I've got the rectangle tool, the ellipse tool, the polygon tool, the star tool, and the line segment tool. So I'm going to direct your attention basically with the rectangle tool first. And how does this work? Well, with the rectangle tool, there's two ways of actually putting down a shape. Actually, with any of these shapes, there's two ways of doing that. One is to just simply click, and when you click, you get a dialog box that allows you to put in a certain value in a unit of measurement, which I think in my case, it's inches, but in your case, it may be showing up as points. So right here, I have rectangle set up for 1.3889 inches. You can set it up for 2 inches, whatever you want, 2 by 2. And when you hit OK, it will put in a box. That is one way of putting down a shape. What I'm going to actually say is like we can go ahead, and the other way is to click, hold, and drag. And when I click, hold, and drag, and I hold down the Shift key, it will actually create the shape as a perfect rectangle. And getting used to the Shift key as being a universal button that will allow you to scale things in proportion. Get used to that as a designer, because there's a lot of times you want your elements to be scaled in proportion. So you can, if you hold on the Shift key, you can get a perfect square. If you don't hold on the Shift key, you can form any kind of rectangle you want. Now, I have not let go of the mouse button right now. It's just going to go ahead and create any kind of shape I want until I let go of the mouse, which is what I did here. So you may notice when you create these shapes, you can actually bring your cursor outside a corner, and you can rotate it to whatever degree you want to. So it's not set up as horizontal vertical. You can set up to any rotation that you want. You can even grab a handle and change its size on the fly. Now you may notice that there are these little circles that are in each of the corners of this particular shape. Those are referred to as rounded radius corners. So if I were to grab one and click, hold, and drag, you can see I can create all four of these corners as rounded to whatever degree I want them to be. Now, what if I only wanted to have one corner rounded and another corner just straight? So if you remember back when we were dealing with the selection tool and the direct selection tool, if you remember what I said about the selection tool as being a whole shape, or selecting a whole shape, and the white arrow selecting parts of that shape. Well, the same concept does apply. So if I go to my direct selection tool, and I just choose one corner. When I choose one corner, it will show that there's only one circle. If I take that one circle and click, hold, and drag, you can actually create each of the corners independently to whatever degree of radius you want, whether it's that type of radius or maybe hardly any or none. So whichever one you want to do, you just basically choose your direct selection tool and choose whichever corner you want to form a radius on. Okay. So I'm going to go to my black arrow. I'm going to basically choose that shape, and I'm going to hit delete. So I can delete that particular shape. So I'm going to go back to my shapes, and where I say an ellipse is, where I see the ellipse, again, if I hold down the shift key and click, hold, and drag, it can form a perfect circle. Or if I don't hold down the shift key, it'll create an ellipse of some kind. Okay. Same things apply. You can go around a certain corner and form it, like basically form a radius. So with this little addition, you do have this option of going ahead and making certain fractions of that particular circle. So if you don't want to make like a more of a Pac-Man type of shape, you can do that right there. So I'll go ahead and create a perfect circle. And if you go ahead and, use your selection tool, you can go ahead and form a bite out of it. So we have that. All right, so that is the circle. There's also a polygon tool. Polygon, what we can do is, again, you can go ahead and click. And this time it's set up as radius, there's no width or height for it. It is just set up as radius. But it also has what is called 6 sides, or sides. You can add however many number of sides you can put in there, up to 3, or down to 3, up to as many sides as you want. So you can do that, or like I like to do this, I like to create these things on the fly. So if I click, hold, and drag, and before I let go of the mouse, if I do the up, down arrow keys on your keyboard, you can add or subtract sides on the fly. So you can do that. When you have the amount of sides you want, you can go ahead and let go of your mouse, and that will apply it there. Okay. That is with the polygon tool. And then there is the star tool. The star tool will allow me to, again, if I were to click, you'll see that here, instead of 1 radius, there is 2 radiuses. One is the, like, radius 1 is basically the first inner radius of all the points of the star. Radius 2 is the outermost radius of the points of the star. And then you have the number of points instead of the number of sides in this particular case. But again, I like to draw things on the fly, so I'll go ahead and do click, hold, and drag. And again, if I use my up-down arrow keys, I can add a number of points, or I can subtract a number of points, whichever one works for you. Now, what if I wanted to make the inner radius smaller? Basically, at any point, you can push in, and then if you hold down the control key on a Windows platform, you can actually pull out the points on the star. And when you get to the point where we want it, just go ahead and let go, and you've got all of your star points. Okay. I'm going to delete that as well. And I'm going to go to my line segment tool. So my line segment tool is a very easy one. Basically, if you just go ahead and click, you get a dialog box that gives you the length of this line and its angle. Not very complex. So if I go ahead and click, hold, and drag, you can see it just basically creates one line. That's essentially what it does. Okay. So I'll delete that. All right. So with those, with these segments, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to my ellipse for this one, this demonstration. And what I want you to do is you're going to create one circle, and I want you to fill it with a certain color. I'm going to turn my stroke off here, double click on this, choose a color of some kind, and I'm going to draw another shape that overlaps it. And I'm going to basically choose that one and choose blue. So I've got a blue circle and I've got a red circle. All right, so they're basically overlapping for this. So what I'm going to introduce you to is, again, very basic elements. If you go up to Window and you go down about halfway is an option called Pathfinder and under the Windows menu. So choose Pathfinder, and I'll bring up this palette that's right here. Basically, it'll allow you to define these shapes. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select both of these. And you can do that either by bringing your cursor out here, click, hold, and drag to create this dotted box. Anything that's within that dotted box will become selected. Now, this is using my black arrow, not my white arrow. If it was a white arrow, then it'd select the points within that box. In this case, I wanted to choose the shape, so I'm going to choose the black arrow or the selection tool to go ahead and choose both shapes, anything that's within that dotted box. Okay, so with both of those selected, what I'm going to see is that there are shape modes and there's pathfinders. I'm not going to show you all of these, but I'm going to show you a few of them. So one is called Unite. If I go ahead and click on that, you'll see that what it does is it basically unites both shapes into one shape. It's not two shapes anymore, it is one. All right, so I'm going to undo that. So I'm going to go Control Z on a Windows platform, Command Z on a Mac. So you can undo some of these things. All right, so this one here, this second one, it says minus front. If I go ahead and click on that, you'll see that the top object just took a bite out of the bottom object. So now you can kind of like use it as kind of like a cookie cutter in the dough. Slicing out or taking a bite out of what's below it. Gonna undo that. So Command or Control Z on a Windows platform, Command Z on a Mac. All right, this third one is called intersect. What that will refer to is anything that is overlapping each other will remain intact. Anything that is outside of that will be deleted, which is what happened here. So this area was the common area that was overlapping and deleted everything else around it. Then Control Z or Command Z on a Mac. All right, this one is called exclude. We'll do the exact opposite. It will actually take out the overlapping area and leave them combined. So I'm going to Control Z or Command Z on a Mac. All right, so those are the shape modes. However, there is a shape mode that is not included in this particular lineup, which should be in a shape modes, but it's not. It's actually labeled under Pathfinders, and it's this one at the very back, where it says minus back. If you click on that, the object that was underneath of this one will take a bite out of the top object, kind of like the opposite of minus front. So it's like minus back, minus front. I'm going to do that. So what do these pathfinders actually do? So right now I have this one right here. It's called divide. If I go ahead and click it, you may notice that nothing seemed to happen. But it did. So in order to actually see this, I'm going to go up to Object, and I'm going to ungroup. And when I ungroup, I'm going to deselect it by clicking anywhere outside the shape. And I'm going to click on any of these objects here. And you'll notice that what it did was anything that was the path that is overlaying each of those has been used as kind of like a blade and kind of like sliced all the pieces out, which is what you have here. So I'm going to undo that several times to go back to where I was. So that's what I want to make sure. Okay. And really, you can kind of like play around with a lot of these, no matter what you want to do there. So, all right. So I'm going to delete those. And what I'm going to do is actually going to form, what would you do with some of these paths? All right. How would you use some of them? So, well, here it's like I have, let's say I want to go ahead and create like a can of some kind. So a 3D can. So I just formed the top of this can, and I want to make the bottom of the can is kind of going to have the same type of radius here. So I'm going to go up to Edit, and I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to paste in front. All right, and what that basically means that when I say paste in front, it'll paste that particular object on top of what I copied. So I can use my down arrows to actually push this object down. All right, and I'm going to go to my rectangle tool, and you'll notice that right now, if you notice that purple line that shows up, that is called a smart guide. Smart guides are kind of like useful in many cases when it actually wants to snap to certain things. Right now, it's like showing me that there's some anchor or lines here. There's an anchor there, which is what I want to actually attach this to. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag, and let it snap in place. And sometimes I might double check it by just kind of like moving this here. And you'll notice there it's snapped into place. I'm going to kind of like move this up, kind of like waiting for it to snap. Okay. So I have that. Now what I want to do is I want to be able to keep this top as kind of like something that's different. But I know that this particular area and this bottom might be combined into a shape. So if I go to this where it says unite, I will combine those together. And I'll take this top and I'll arrange it, or object arrange, bring to front. And in here, what if I were to make it just a little bit lighter? So it looks like a 3D can now. These are just simple shapes. Nothing too complex. And I did it with just like the rectangle tool and the ellipse tool to create something like this. Okay. All right. So that is what you can do. You can create all kinds of different shapes, put them together to create other ones. Again, why I like Illustrator is nothing set in stone. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go to my line segment tool, all right, and I'm going to form a line. I'm going to click, hold, and drag, and I'm going to give this a stroke somehow. All right, maybe we'll go ahead and make it black. All right, and we're going to go over to the right side. You're going to see that there is a stroke. I'm going to increase the size of this stroke to like maybe 20 per se. All right, and I'm going to go to my ellipse tool, and I'm going to create a perfect circle. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this, let it snap into place. You'll see that those purple lines that kind of like showed up to kind of like show that it snapped. Now I'm going to take this shape, and I'm going to hold down my Alt key. Alt key on a Windows platform. I leave the Option key on a Mac. And you'll see that the cursor shows up with a double arrow. That means what I'm about to do is I'm going to duplicate that shape when I click, hold, and drag. So if I click, hold, and drag, I'm going to pull that over here, and I'm going to let it snap. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull out another one and let it overlap a little bit, like so. And I'm going to pull out another one here, but I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger, just like so. All right. So what I'm going to introduce you to is, since they're all kind of connected somehow, all right, I'm going to introduce you to what is called a shape builder tool. All right, so I'm going to select all that. I'm going to take my cursor, and I'm going to click, hold, and drag and create a dotted box. And again, it is very important that you have the selection tool done for this, not the direct selection. So I'm going to go to my selection tool, and I'm going to find a shape builder tool. It's like on my screen, you kind of see it under the eraser tool. All right, it looks like these two circles with an arrow next to it. So I'm going to click on that. And what you're going to notice is when you move your cursor inside a shape, it's going to go kind of like a dotted mesh or gray mesh. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just click, hold, and drag. And if I move into certain areas, you'll see that there's a red line that shows up. Those red lines actually refer to as this is what a shape is going to build for you. And if you go into this particular area, you make a circle, and when you let go, it'll form it as one shape, just like it is here. So now with this thing that's pointed, I want to go to my stroke area, and in the corner, there's a rounded join which right now these are too pointed. I want to make it a little bit softer. So I can choose a rounded join, and you can kind of see that it forms this kind of like rounded corner on this particular shape. So now what you can do is, this is another way of actually building out shapes. There's Pathfinder, and there's also the basically shape builder. All right. So that is shapes. Now, one other thing that is considered shapes technically is the type tool. If you go up to the type tool, it's a T there. You can click on the T, and when you basically will go ahead, and there's two ways of putting in text. One is to just click, and you'll get this lorem ipsum, which then you can go ahead and type out your type. The second way is to take your type tool and click, hold, and drag. When you click, hold, and drag, you're going to create what is called a text box. All right, and this becomes important, not necessarily in Illustrator, but it does become important when we refer to Adobe InDesign. Here, since in Illustrator we don't really do lengthy things in here as far as text goes, you can choose any. You can just type or click, and that will put in your lorem ipsum. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and click, hold, and drag to make this bigger just by grabbing a corner. Now, off to the right, you're going to find that there's a character palette. And where it says Myriad Pro, I'm going to choose something else. I mean, for me, I have a lot of fonts on my screen. So I'm going to just go with Garamond Bold for this. Now, this is what is referred to as live text. It is not considered a shape yet. All right, a lot of times when you're dealing with Illustrator and you're using type, you want to convert them into shapes, all the letters into shapes somehow. So what am I going to do with this? Well, if I go up to type, create outlines, and make sure you do have it selected, and it should have the dotted or the handled box around it. If you go to that and hit create outlines, and it will turn that into this. So it looks like a dot. It still has that dotted box around it, but it is different somehow. So what is different about it? Well, here it's like I have my name here set up. If I go up to Object, Ungroup, and I can go to each one of these, and now they are no longer live text. They are considered shapes now, because they're no longer typed. They just look like letters, but they are fully manipulatable. You can do whatever you want with them. So like if you take a circle here and you select both of them here, and you go to your shape builder and you click, hold, and drag, you can combine these all together into one shape, just like so. Okay. They're not set up as, they're set up now as just shapes. All right, so which makes it easy when you go ahead and create logos, because when you create logos, you want to make something that's very unique, not something that is going to allow for another designer to recreate it for you. All right, so you want to make it difficult for another designer to recreate it. All right, so that wraps up what I'm going to instruct to you about shapes today. Feel free to look over more of them or repeat this video if you want to learn a little bit more, but I encourage you to play around with these tools in the meantime. So that will finish it off for me. So I will see you in the next video.